Hey, 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 yeah, hey, what a time to be alive. I left them for dead, now I'm living right. No new friends, no new advice. That was high then, but we got bigger heights. We got big fish, bigger fish to fry. Bet on myself, then I roll the dice. Man, it ain't a gamble if you know you nice.
Welcome back to Dollar and a Dream Podcast. I'm your host, Ara.amen. This is the #1 podcast in Dallas, Texas. And my guest here today is the CEO and founder of the Mavericks organization, the youngest six-figure earner in PHP agency, Joseph James. Let's go.
How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm amazing, man. Thank you for coming on, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to start from the very beginning. Where were you born? What was it like growing up? What was family like?
Yeah.
Because you're, how old are you right now?
20.
20.
Yeah.
You've made six figures at 20 years old as an entrepreneur. So
Correct.
that's not an easy task by any means. So
Yeah.
So before we get to that, I just want to start from the beginning.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. That's where I grew up. And just 6 months ago, we moved out here to Dallas. So it's been quite a transition. But growing up, school was very important as far as getting good grades. Growing up, I thought I wanted to be at first a doctor. I was like, when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would just say anything that made a lot of money. That's what I want to do.
I love it.
And then when I got into high school, I wanted to get into computer science. So I started studying HTML, CSS. I started coding games.
Why? What's piqued the interest of computer science?
I don't know, just the ability, just the fact that you can create something and call it your own. Okay. I think that's something that's pretty cool. But one of my friends, when I was in 8th grade, he was talking about it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. How do I get into that? And I was playing Roblox at the time, and on Roblox you can script games and build things from scratch using their programming language. So that's how I got into it, and then one thing led to another.
Okay, so when you're in middle school, what are your parents like? Are they get good grades? Are they strict? Are they checking your report card?
Oh, for sure. My dad definitely. When the report cards come, he's like, "What did you get?" And I remember just being so nervous. But after I got into high school, it was less of that. I felt like they weren't as strict as I was in high school, but definitely in middle school and junior high, grades were very important. If you got a C, then it was a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? So you go into high school. Who is Joseph James in high school? And you're still in Tampa at this time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. In high school, I'm someone that originally I'm just okay, I want to, again, pursue college. I want to, be just really good at playing basketball. I was on the basketball team. So I was focused on those two things, sports and grades. And then my sophomore year of high school, I was 15, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, wow. Very early on.
Oh, yeah, very early. And boom, entire mindset switch. Don't want to do school. I'm this is a waste of time. Why am I even in this? I don't even want to show up to school anymore. I don't really care about my grades. I'm it's not going to matter anyways. So
when is this? This is senior year, junior year?
No, I was a sophomore, I think, when I read.
Sophomore.
Yeah, I was 15 years old. I don't remember what grade I was in. Either sophomore or junior. Yeah. It was, I think I was a sophomore at the time, yeah.
Is that the first book you read?
Yes, cover to cover. That was the first book I read.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's so crazy. Okay, because I didn't read my first book till I was 25. Cover to cover, I went out to read.
Yeah.
And why did you read it?
So there's a backstory to it. So I'll start with this. When I'm 14, I wanted to get a job, and that was because I wanted to start making money. And I'm money is important. I saw my parents argue about money constantly. So I'm okay, money has to be important. You got to, make good money. And as any 14-year-old would do, I applied to so many jobs you can think of. AMC, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, all these different spots. And you want to know how many people said, you got the job?
How many? Zero.
Yeah. I don't get hired. And I'm damn, that sucks. So from there, that's what transitioned into starting my first business without me really even knowing really. So anyways, from there I transitioned and instead of saying, man, I can't make money, it was more of how can I make money? And that's how I started my first business. It was a clothing brand. So from the clothing brand, it led me to do more research on YouTube. How do I invest? So it made me like research and just staying curious. I was like, how do you invest money? Because my parents didn't teach me that. And I watched this video, and it was like, hey, if you want to invest $100, you could buy a stock, sure, but you're not gonna get like a crazy return. You could, you can't really get into real estate. It's gonna be hard to start, certain businesses with $100. But the best way you can invest $100 is in yourself. So I'm watching this video at 15 years old, and I'm like, investing the money in myself, that's what's going to give me the biggest rate of return. And at first I was like, because I hated reading. All those school books that they give you, I freaking hated it. But one of the books he mentioned on there was like Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And my brother, he had that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I went to him, I got the book. Within like 2 weeks, I finished the book, and I was like hooked. And it just like every time I read it, it was just like one thing led to the next, one thing led to the next. I was just like so eager to finish the book. And that was the first book that I read cover to cover.
Is it your older brother or younger brother?
Older brother. I'm the youngest.
How many siblings do you have?
I have an older sister and brother.
How old are they?
My sister is 24 and my brother's 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You started your business. What's the clothing brand business like? Are you making money? Are you using computer science? Like what's going on at this point?
Yeah, so with the clothing brand business, I broke even. If anything, I probably lost a little bit of money, but for me, it was like just that experience.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, okay, I started out with, what is my
You had
name?
a dream.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I like the name of this podcast, like Dollar and a Dream. That's how most people get started. Yeah. They have a little bit of money and they just have a dream. They get inspired. They see someone else have something and they're like, man, I want that. And that was for me. I was also watching like a YouTuber at the time who had a sick clothing brand, Tanner Fox, and FaZe Rug. And I was like, man, I want to have like my own brand. So that's what led me to start that as well. I played around with a few different names. I ended up coming up with a name just called Drip.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah. The website was called dripattire.com.
Cool.
Yeah. So we ran with that. I sketched out a couple of logos. Then this is where I got resourceful and I found out about Fiverr. So,
okay.
Yep. That was the first time I used Fiverr, was to get that clothing brand logo made.
This is almost 10 years ago. Fiverr's been around that long.
Yeah. Fiverr's been around for a minute. Freelancing platform. So yeah, I was using them in high school.
Wow. I just recently used it for the first time
Really?
ever. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
What'd you use it for?
clips for the podcast.
There you go.
Yeah. it worked. It was amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I reached out to a couple of contractors to like try different ones.
Mm-hmm.
One used AI. One asked me for the time slots, but it was a great experience.
Oh yeah. It saves you a lot of time and money. So I go on Fiverr, get the logo made, went through a couple of different graphic artists or whatever, and finally found the logo. And I'll probably send it to you. You could pop up a picture.
Okay.
And I was like, this is it. So then I'm like, okay, what's next? I'm like thinking website, Instagram, right? One of my buddies, his name is Marlon. We had the same mindset in high school. He's the one that actually introduced me to crypto and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, from there, I found a local clothing shop in Tampa. So I went to her and she did like vinyl prints.
Okay.
So I made first couple of shirts there, hoodies. And then I just went around school selling t-shirts. And that was my first like real entrepreneurship experience. Because I'm getting out of my comfort zone. I'm talking to random people that I don't ever talk to at my school. And I'm like, hey, you want to like, you want to look drippy? Like, come on, like buy my shirt, right? So it's like, that was how I first got into this whole entrepreneurial spirit. And everything just led to, it opened up a door that I'm still going down right now.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay. So you're selling these shirts. When do you stop and go to the next venture?
So while I'm selling shirts, that lasted about a year, I would say, maybe a little bit longer than that. But then I was introduced to drop shipping.
Okay.
So I started drop shipping when I was, I think, same age, 15 or 16, I can't remember.
Okay.
And my first ever store was like a travel backpack that had a charger in it. So you could charge your phone on the go.
Cool.
Yeah. And when I first heard about drop shipping, I was like, ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how like you're a kid, you're young, you're naive, you're like, I'm gonna make a lot of money, I'm gonna be rich, right? That was me. And I was like, man, just like anything I could do to make a lot of money. So I didn't have much money at the time, but with drop shipping, for those of you who don't know how it works, You find a supplier overseas, and then you market that product to your website. And let's say I find this backpack overseas, I find a supplier that can make it for $20. Well, I'll find people in the US that are willing to buy it for $50 because of branding, different things like that. So they'll come to my website, they'll spend $50, and what I do is I'll order it from the supplier and it goes straight to them. So it limits the need for having inventory, right? It doesn't require a lot of money. And honestly, Ara, like when I launched the store and I ran Facebook ads for the first time, I was like, man, I don't even have enough money to be able to fulfill these orders.
Wow.
Like that was my mindset.
So you're preparing to get bombarded with orders.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm preparing in my mind, these Facebook ads are about to do so good that everyone is going to be going to my store buying backpacks that I'm not even gonna have enough money to fulfill the orders.
How long ago is this? This is your
5 years ago. I'm 20.
Okay, yeah.
4 or 5 years ago.
It's because when we talk, I always get like I feel like we're the same age.
Yeah.
But I always forget you're almost 8
years younger.
Yeah. Because if like in my high school, it was go get a job. So so it was like that stuff wasn't really around yet. So like you are the first wave of high school students looking to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Which is why we're on the precipice of something great where college isn't as valuable as it used to be. Jobs are not as valuable as it used to be. Entrepreneurship is opening up in very, very different ways. So it's just interesting how the culture is changing.
Oh yeah, for sure. So my mindset, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make a lot of money. And my sister is like very skeptical of a lot of things, but I convinced her. I don't even know how. I convinced her, and she had some money, a couple $100. I convinced her to give me her card, so I could use that to fulfill the orders. And I was just explaining to her, I'm like, you can't lose money. If someone went to my site, spent $50, the product costs $20. I just have to fulfill the order. So she let me use her card, and I get home from school that day and I'm like jacked up. I'm like, how did these ads do? I jump on my Shopify back office and 0 sales. I'm like, damn. So that was like that just like high of like, man, I'm going to make a lot of money. And then boom, I get hit with reality. I'm like, bro, that's not how it works. So from there, that was my second thing after the clothing brand. But I didn't give up drop shipping like just after that one go. I probably did drop shipping 5 different times. Okay. And it wasn't until the 5th time I made a little bit of money with drop shipping.
So, okay, I'm very naive in drop shipping. I hear it all the time. I've watched a few videos or whatever. Explain to me your journey, right? So you pick the bag with the charger, and that's the one product you're selling.
Yeah.
So then you're just putting out ads, and then whoever clicks that ad goes to your website. If they want to buy, then they buy it through you, and then that's it.
They buy it through me. Then what happens is I have to go to the supplier, say, hey, got an order. I'll purchase a bag from the supplier, but instead of me buying it for myself, I send it straight to the person.
It just ships to them.
Exactly, that went to my site.
So how are people getting rich doing this? Why is this a trend?
Hype. And not only just hype, but it's also like trendy products. Anything that's like trending. You remember fidget spinners?
Yeah.
Bro, like, boom, that's a great drop shipping product when that was a thing because it was all hype. And I think fidget spinners are like popping when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah. So, okay, this is basically like, you remember the Snuggie when it was on TV? It's like, buy now, $19.99.
Yeah.
Drop shipping is just the modern version of
TV advertisers that come late at night.
Okay.
To a certain extent. But again, those people that did those at night with the whole TV ads, they probably had to hold inventory. Right. That's the biggest thing with drop shipping, and why I think a lot of young people gravitate towards that is because of the low cost of entry. But what they fail to realize is that it requires a lot of testing products because you don't know what product is going to be your winner.
Yeah.
And that's where it can like drain your account. So if you don't have at least $1,000, or if you don't have like, good connections with influencers who can market your product for the low, then it could be pretty hard to, really succeed with drop shipping unless you have like proven methods, you know what's trending, and you know how to get on it early.
So, okay, so the backpack didn't work. What was the other 5 products?
Man, I did backpacks. I did custom dog collars where you can put your dog's name on the thing. I did on that same backpack site, it was a whole like modern travel page. So I did like portable chargers, just random stuff. Long story short, the product that actually ended up making me $1,000 in a day, and I was 17 at this time. It was a like a Galaxy Moonlight. So it was a Galaxy Moonlight that like lit up. It looked pretty cool. You could like move it around. It's on a stand. You know, it's just cool.
Projects the galaxy.
Yeah, something like that. So that did pretty good for me.
Exactly.
I've almost bought one of those.
I almost bought one. Yeah.
Exactly.
They'll get some people for sure.
Oh, for sure. But the one of the biggest things, and I learned it until recently. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. Just being in business now, it was influence.
Yeah.
That's what caused me to make money on that product versus all the other products that I had. It was because I had a connection with a TikToker who had over 4 million followers. And, you know, we had a good friendship or whatever. I was going over like trading stocks with him and stuff like that. And he just posted like a small clip on Snapchat. He's like, hey, I just bought this Galaxy Moonlight. Check it out. They're doing free shipping till the end of the week. Just like short clip. He posts this video, Ara, probably around midnight. Right after he posts it, my phone starts blowing up with orders. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, no freaking way. And like I said, I learned it now. I didn't know it back then, but everything is about influence. That's what it comes down to.
Let's go into that because we've been learning about influence. One thing that I learned recently that was prolific was once you start a business and then you're marketing yourself and you know, you reach out to people, you know, just show them what you're doing, right? If you open a coffee shop, if you open a sandwich shop, if you open a bakery, you want to let everyone know, hey, I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize all the people, there's a difference between having a big network and having influence over a big network.
Exactly.
So what was it like when you're in high school and you're trying to make a name for yourself and you have your friends, right? Some are going to college, some are doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
What is it like trying to have influence over your network while you're in high school?
That is deep. I'll say this. One, it's something that definitely takes time. And once you have a proven or some sort of track record, it's easier to have influence because they know what you've done. So for me, you know, if I'm starting this clothing brand and it's my first ever thing, my influence level may be low. Mm-hmm. They're like, he's just trying something new. We'll see if he sticks it out. Then I move to the next thing, right? Drop shipping. Then I move to the next thing, trading stocks. But then I'm starting to now in flipping shoes, right? So I did all that in high school, but now I have a track record of, okay, now I'm known as the guy that is a hustler. Like that's now me in high school. It's like if that described me later on in high school, it's like, okay, Joe plays basketball. He's a hustler. He's about his business. And now I have some sort of influence. So if I'm like, hey, man, I'm thinking about buying this shoe to flip it. You want to go in half on half with me? They're like, yeah, let's do it. And I had another buddy in high school. We'd freaking, you know, after I got a little bit of money, we started flipping shoes together. We put a couple $100 together into it and we started flipping shoes. His name is Matthew. Mm-hmm. He was like the valedictorian of the damn school. He's smart as hell. But from there, you know, it's just about track record. Like, and even going into the business we're in now with financial services, I get started at 18 years old. Do you think I have a lot of influence when it comes to finances? Hell no, right? But some people, they're just waiting to see how long you stick with something. If you're that dude that's always jumping from one thing to the other, to the next, to this, to that, you're probably not going to have a lot of influence on your peers. But if you're like, oh no, this is going to work, I'm going to stick this one thing out. I've served a lot of people. I've given value to the people that I sit in front of. Boom. Now you have some sort of influence and you're able to actually impact people's lives.
Cool. So stick it out.
Yeah.
Stick it out.
Oh,
if you believe in it.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. People are like, you know, I want to try real estate out. I want to try insurance out. I want to try this out. And I feel like if you go into it with that mentality, you're going to fail. Like you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, are there things that naturally, you know, gear towards you more than other things? Sure. But if you go into the mentality of I'm just going to try to see, you're setting yourself up for failure because when it's once you go from being lukewarm to I'm going all in, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to win, that's when you see the results. That's what delayed my success in the business we're in now is because when I got started, I was lukewarm. I was half in, half out. I'll just see if this works. And that was my track record, right? In high school, I just tried to see if this would work, if this would make me money. The clothing brand, the flipping shoes, the trading stocks, the power washing people's houses. I was just trying to see if it works. But the one main factor for me, and I feel like the one missing factor for a lot of people, is when you have a mentor to hold you accountable, when you're like, I think I'm just going to try something different now. But your mentor is there to say, hey, no, you told me you're going to do X, Y, Z, and they hold you accountable to that. Okay, now you can't just like jump from one thing to next. You're grounded, and boom, it's when that turning point, when you make that decision to say, hey, I'm going to go all in, boom, that's when you see the results.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One quick point. You are now being mentored by not just one, but $4 million earners right now.
Yeah.
So what has that been like to have millionaires in your corner showing you what to do?
Did
you have that with drop shipping or like,
no.
explain that difference?
Oh, yeah. So previously when I had those side hustles, it was me just trying to figure it out. But when you have mentors that you're close with, it accelerates the process for you to win tremendously, right? So if you're able to learn from someone else's mistakes, I always say it like this, right? If you want to be smart, you'll learn from the mistakes you make in life. Everyone's going to make mistakes. But if you want to be wise, you'll learn from other people's mistakes. And that's the power of having a mentor. Like, did I know at 20 years old I'm going to have 4 millionaires in my corner showing me what to... Heck no, right? But that's a blessing. So for me, and I mean, even just last week, going through a low or certain things that I was going through, being able to say, hey, I'm going through this. How would you attack this? Boom, boom, boom. We take care of it. Next day, I'm feeling phenomenal. So something that may have taken me, honestly, out of my game for maybe a couple of months.
Wow.
If what I went through last week, 2 years ago, I'd have been out for easily a few months.
I didn't even know you went through something. Like I couldn't even tell.
You can't.
Like I'm literally telling you the past couple weeks. I'm like, dude, you're killing it.
Exactly. You are. Right? But what could have taken me 2 months to get over, it only took me a week.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have those people in my corner. So that's the power of having a mentor.
Two things. It decompresses the time, whether it's to get further in business or to reduce a bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things that I've taken away from what you said and what I've experienced with a mentor. The other thing is, do you still struggle with being smart and being wise? Because for myself, I like to make mistakes. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I want to see how hot that stove can get before I'm like, okay, that's a hot stove. How do you try to be wise?
Man.
Because it's hard.
Oh, it's
especially,
very hard.
Like, not to discredit your age, but as a young man, it is hard.
It is very hard. One, I would say you got to read Proverbs.
Okay.
Right? Like the Bible, just the track record it has and the stories in there. There's so much you could learn from just reading the Bible. But for me specifically, yeah, it's always easier said than done. Like, yeah, I'm wise, or I want to be wise. But then when a situation presents itself for you to be wise versus only being smart, you choose, I'm just going to be the smart option, and I got to just make the mistake and then eventually learn. And you don't save on time. Like, so it's tough, right? But again, it goes back to, one, are you clear on what you want long term? And whatever it is that you're going through or being tested with, you know, you got to ask yourself, does me picking this option to be wise, does it get me to my goal quicker, or do I need to go through this mistake? Do I want to actually go through this mistake and learn from it and maybe take an additional 6-12 months to reach my goal? So sometimes we just make decisions off the fly, and we don't really think about the consequences that could come from them. Mm-hmm. But when we think more long term, then that can help with us being wise in the present.
What's the longest detour you took because you were not wise? Like time wise?
Ooh.
Like say I know for myself, I was probably out maybe a year or 2 years. Yeah. Because of I'm still going to work. I'm still going to the gym. Things are progressing, but mentally that I would say maybe a year or 2 years. So what's the longest?
I'm still very young, but I would say maybe 8 to 12 months.
But that's the impact.
Yeah.
It can have, which is
for sure.
Lost time is
huge, and lost time. And Patrick Bet-David, he broke this down in a crazy way. Because lost time, let's say I say to you I lost 8 months of my life because I wasn't aligned, or I wasn't coachable, or whatever the case may be. It's not 8 months of your life that you lost. It's a lot more, because when you look at, let's say if you were on top of your game for those 8 months, think about the momentum that you create.
Yeah.
Think about the one thing that leads to the next that accelerates your growth. So it's not just 8 months that you lost. It's probably, double that time, triple that time.
Yeah.
Because of lost momentum. Because momentum doesn't grow linear, it's exponential.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing there.
I love that. Okay, so next thing is you got into stocks.
Yeah.
So you started. I don't know. I've watched some of your videos because you got into YouTube. You got into stocks.
Yeah.
You got into. Did you ever do Forex?
No, I never got into Forex.
So what was that journey like? Because you're doing all these other things. You're doing drop shipping. It's a classic entrepreneur story.
Oh, for sure.
Which is like beautiful. So when did stocks come on? And were you just as excited about doing stocks as drop shipping? Like, tell me that.
Every journey that I experienced, I was always excited. Like, again, that high, just being naive, being young, I'm going to make a lot of money. Like, sometimes a lot of adults lack that. Like, it's a good thing to have to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So for me, where I know exactly how I got into stocks, it was in 2020, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And this is 3 years ago now. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. So 3 years ago, COVID happens, and I remember my mentor at the time. I was in construction. I was working in construction in high school. That was my first real job that wasn't entrepreneurial. And we started talking about how the market was going to go down. And one of my other mentors who was in real estate at the time, his name is Promise. I talked to him. I was like, man, how do I buy stocks? And he's like, well, have you thought about options? And I was like, what are options? And that one question led me to this deep rabbit hole.
Okay.
If you don't,
on YouTube, you're going on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
On YouTube, books, everything. Guys, if you don't know what options trading is, I'm warning you right now, there's a long rabbit hole that you're about to go down. I don't have a lot of money, right? But I'm like, okay, I could buy some stocks on this dip because of COVID, right? Stocks are going to go on sale.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to only be able to buy a few shares of a blue chip stock. So I research options, and long story short, options trading, it allows you to profit in the direction of the market, right? So if I think Apple is going to go up in price, you could buy call options, right? You're bullish and you buy call options. It's very affordable, by the way, very affordable. And if Apple just moves a little bit in price up, let's say Apple moves up $3 and I have one call option. Exactly, right? I can make $150, a couple $100 just from a $3 move on the stock. But here's the downside. I could lose a couple $100 just from a $3 downfall, right? So that's when I started to learn options. You can leverage, money if you don't have a lot of it to be able to make more money.
Okay.
So that's how I got into stocks, just from wanting to, again, for me, everything was about capitalizing on opportunities. And I watched this video earlier today. I forgot the gist of it. Oh, it was like this. It said, on the way here, did you notice a red car? Or did you spot a red car? And in your head, you're probably like, no. But that you probably passed a red car. But if I'd said, Ara, I'm going to give you $100 for every red car you spot on the way home, how many red cars do you think you're going to spot?
I'm going to look for them.
Bro, you're going to be all there's one there.
Yeah.
You're going to send me pictures of every red car. You're like, run me my 1,000.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Right? So it's the same way with business. The reason why I got into options was because I was looking for opportunities. If some people are just so closed-minded these days, and that's why they're stuck at where they are in life.
Yeah.
You'll talk to a regular 9-to-5 worker who's miserable at their job. You'll offer them an opportunity and they'll still say no, even though they're wanting something more. And it's crazy. You just got to be more open, and you got to be, willing and wanting to learn. And that was just me in high school. Even now, just always staying curious. You always stay curious. How does this work? How do they have what they have? How did they do X, Y, Z? That allows you to be able to, again, become wiser or smarter at a younger age if you just stay curious. Don't be so closed off. Maybe what you think you know isn't the actual thing.
100%. I mean, this is like my testimony. I went to college for like 7 years.
Yeah.
I did everything right.
Wow.
I got my dream job. Like I literally
Yeah.
have my dream job. And this is the 2 years of almost lost time, right? I'm working at this company. And we have the nice coffee machine. I have the nice desk. I have the, everything's nice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not happy. Like what's missing here?
Yeah.
And that's the dream I was sold, right? I bought that dream.
Yeah.
And it was a decade detour.
Wow.
So I achieved it, right? From 18, go to college, get a good job, get a better job, get more degrees. I'm 28.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. So
Wow.
people that don't realize that, some people never get out of it.
You're correct.
So people will just drink that Kool-Aid,
Mm-hmm.
and because they've decided they've been doing this they bought in for 10 years,
Yeah.
they're scared to make a change.
Mm.
But what I don't understand is, like, if nothing changes, everything's gonna stay the same.
Exactly.
So
But also, do you have any older siblings?
no, I'm the oldest.
There you go. So maybe your younger siblings now saw the route that you took, and they're like, okay, maybe I don't need to take that route because I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
So I saw my brother attempt to take that route.
That's being
And-
wise again.
Exactly.
Being wise again.
So, it's either you got to learn from your own mistakes, or you got to learn from someone else, or be inspired to do something different. And that could be through reading a book, right? What book was it for you? Because mine was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
So the first book that opened my mind, it was pretty. I read a lot of books, but Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil
Aw, man.
really I had read a bunch of other books, but Outwitting the Devil was the one where I had a paradigm shift. Also, the Four Agreements. So
Yeah.
they're both pretty relatively recent,
Yeah,
which was interesting, but
that's crazy.
yeah.
There's a book that I read earlier in the year, and I just reread it. It's called The Garden.
Yeah.
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 By John
I haven't
Gordon.
read that yet, but it's on my list.
Oh yeah, that book, phenomenal, because it talks about like spiritual warfare, the ways the enemy attacks, and why people are stuck where they're at, because the
Yeah.
enemy has a hold of them. And when I realized that, I was like, man, this makes more sense,
Yeah.
because when you know the ways the enemy attacks, it's a lot easier for you to combat it, right?
Right.
And when you just look at, like, in the book, it talks about negative thoughts, right? When you get into something new, I mean, one of the limiting beliefs I had, especially getting into the financial services industry at 18, is maybe I'm not good enough, or can I really handle a lot of money, right? Or higher identity clients, right? You don't choose to think those thoughts. Like, do
Right.
you purposely have negative thoughts?
No, like that's a powerful point, because as you're coming into the industry, even myself, right, relatively young, but as a 18-year-old,
Yeah.
you're coming in and you're handling clients with millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And you gotta pretend like you've seen this money before. You gotta you have to
Yeah.
you have to walk the walk before
Oh,
you
yeah.
actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
But God's not gonna put you in this position unless you're meant for it, or
Exactly.
you can prepare for it. But that's the enemy trying to tell you, why aren't you supposed to handle millions of dollars? Why aren't you supposed to help people manage their money? Because you have a better option compared to someone
Yep.
who might lose their money or risk their money.
Exactly.
So but we have those thoughts. But why do we have those thoughts?
Exactly. And it's the enemy planting those seeds in our head, because we don't purposely say, I'm not going to graduate college. Like, if someone's goal is to become a nurse, graduate college, have that degree, be successful in that aspect, you're not purposely saying, I'm going to fail, or
Yeah.
like, you don't want to do that to yourself. It's self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the enemy just planting seeds. And when you can get to a spot, which is very hard, by the way, but when you can get to a spot when you can identify what are the enemy's seeds of doubt, discouragement, whatever it is that he's planting, versus your actual own voice, that's like the first step to you winning that battle.
And then you notice those patterns.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing over
Yeah.
and over again.
Oh, yeah.
right? And you notice that pattern. It's like you get up in the morning, you go to the gym, and you're tired. it's like, oh, there he is. In the
Yep.
morning is where he strikes. But
Yep.
but you said you're going to go to the gym because you set that alarm.
Exactly.
You set the alarm when you want to go and do better. You want to start the day off with a bang. You want to get that better
Yep.
body to trickle down for your health, your eating habits, and then into your business and your relationships. But then when the alarm rings, it's like,
Maybe another 30 minutes.
But that's the enemy again. He strikes
Exactly.
in the morning when you're weakest, when through children. But okay,
yeah.
so you got into call options and stocks. When did you start doing YouTube?
I started doing YouTube around that same time.
Okay, so what was that relationship?
Yeah, so when I started trading stocks, for me, everything is about making connections.
Okay.
I always want to, build my network. And I reach out to this YouTuber, Simplified Stocks, and we jump on a quick phone call. I'm reaching out to him to learn. And we jump on a quick call. His name is Tyler. And we start talking. And he's like, yeah, man, I have a Discord. I do trades, do call outs for people. And I'm like, that's pretty sick. And so then I jump on as one of his traders in his Discord server, and I start mentoring people on how to trade stocks.
Okay, so you got on pretty quick
yeah.
to where, okay.
Oh yeah. So that's what we started doing. And then from there, I'm like, you know what? I should start a YouTube. And then I started doing a YouTube channel on how to trade stocks and options trading and reviewing my plays throughout the day.
And that was when the name Joe Vester.
And that's how the name Joe Vester came about.
Follow Joe Vester on
Yeah.
YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah.
So you got into YouTube. So what was YouTube like? What was the purpose of YouTube? Is it to educate yourself, to educate people, to make money, to build a brand? What was your goal, the purpose, and then how did that route go?
It was more so to build a brand. And when I got into stocks, believe it or not, that was not my first time doing YouTube. I did YouTube when I was 13 years old, and my first ever type of videos was actually NBA 2K.
Okay.
Yeah, so during the summer, bro, I used to play a lot of games, mainly Call of Duty and NBA.
Cool.
2K. And I would just film me playing and upload those videos.
Yeah.
So that's how I first got into it. And then I did challenge videos with my brother.
Yeah.
Different things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Kind of fell off of it, and then I could jump back into it.
What was your highest view video when you're doing YouTube?
My highest
2K
view
and video games.
My current highest view video is about 50,000.
With the
It's
games?
it's a stock video.
The stock video. Okay.
Stock
okay.
video. I don't remember my highest viewed when I was doing the games. That was a minute ago. But
It's a lot.
yeah, it's quite a bit especially for YouTube.
Yeah.
And so for me it was more so about brand recognition, but also being able to just add value.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's about adding value to other people's lives. Because, when you're doing YouTube up front, you're not making money.
Yeah.
You're just posting and building a brand. So that's how I got into it, and then just stuck with it. And, now I don't really do YouTube like that. I don't really care to be a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
So how old are you at this point?
Doing YouTube,
Yeah.
I was trading stocks at 16. That's when I first
16.
got into it. 16, 17, and 18.
And then when did you decide to partner with PHP?
So I got started right when I graduate high school. I graduate when I'm 17.
Fill that gap if you can.
Yeah. So I graduate high school when I'm 17. And by the way, guys, I'm by no means like a book nerd or any of that stuff. For me, I wanted to figure out a way to get out of high school earlier. And that way was there's a program called dual enrollment where you take college classes while you're in high school, and you could get your associate's degree, and you could graduate high school early by doing the college version of that class. Mm-hmm. I graduate when I'm 17. I did the early grad thing, and then I did that mainly because I wanted to start working. So I had a connection at a bank that was out in Tampa, and he says, "Hey, we'd love to accept you as an employee, but you don't have your high school diploma. You're still in high school." But I was like, that's weird. I graduated that December. I think it was 2020 in December. I had my associate's degree when I'm 17. So
you had your associates before your high school
I had
diploma.
my associates before my high school diploma, which is crazy.
That's interesting, yeah.
Exactly. Most people
I don't think I've ever heard of that, but that's very interesting.
Exactly. So I do my 60 credit hours for college or whatever. Had some help with that, if you know what I mean. But then anyways, we graduate with my associates. So I thought I could start working, but they said, no, you can't unless you graduate high school. You need a high school diploma. Didn't make sense. Anyways, I do that. Then I start working at a bank. So that's where I was working at. Because after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I said, you know what? I really want to learn more about money. I want to know how it works, how to become wealthy, different things like that.
Let me pause you right there.
Yes.
So you're very similar to me in the aspect of money is important, not because money's everything, but like money is important. Like I hate when people say money's not important because I'm like, okay, call your job right now and quit. If money's not important, then like call your job right now and quit.
Tell me about it.
So where did this relationship with money stem from? Like you mentioned you didn't grow up with a lot of money. You mentioned that you saw family argue about money. What was it like explain to me why that relationship with money sparked that curiosity with you.
That's a good question. I remember vividly my parents getting into an argument about my mom sending money back home to help her family, but she didn't even really have enough money to help her immediate family pay the bills.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, she has a helpful heart, right? But you can't take care of other people if you can't first take care of yourself. So seeing that, and then, but my parents, they did what they could as far as like
my
helping
families
me.
went through the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of families. It's very common.
Exactly. It's very, very common. I mean, it's crazy now. I mean, marriage, like what, almost 50% of marriages are end in a divorce. And most of that is because of financial arguments.
Absolutely.
So first seeing that, but then, just always wanting things but not being able to afford it. That's how that stemmed. But then again, it went back into Rich Dad Poor Dad. When I finally understood what the wealthy teach their kids that the poor and middle class don't, that's where I'm like, okay, this is starting to make sense. So no, money is not everything, but it's like you said, it's a huge part, right? And money is just a tool to be able to do the things that you want to do.
Money gives you more choices.
Exactly.
Do you want better choices or worse choices?
Yeah.
So do
you want someone making your choices?
That's a big one too, right? So if you are not interested in making more money, you're basically saying you want less choices.
Correct.
And whether that's for yourself,
yeah,
that's easy when it's just for you.
Yeah.
But if you have a family, if you have like a mom and dad that you want to take care of, or kids or a spouse,
and then just even now, like, because we would edify money, like, oh, when you talk, and I'll ask you this before I even say it, when you talk to most of your prospects for our business, right? How much money do most people, just the everyday person, not the person that's like an overachiever, what do most people want to make? What do they tell you?
6 figures.
Boom, 6 figures.
They think that's the end all be all that they're going to get.
Exactly.
It's the American dream.
It's the American dream, right? So most people that say, oh, I just want to make 6 figures. I want to make 6 figures. That was me in high school. I wanted to make 6 figures. Computer science, they make 6 figures. But what I realized, having made 6 figures this year, it's like, bro, you need to make 6 figures.
100%.
Like you can't survive. Like I'm single. I'm young, single, don't have kids, don't have pets, no wife, no girlfriend. Imagine if you have a wife with 3 kids. How are you surviving on only $100,000 a year? You can't. You literally can't. Like, it's like now more than ever, you need to find an opportunity and you need to level up your mindset, your financials, like just everything, your overall package, so that you can go out there and just give value to the marketplace, and that the marketplace will literally pay you what you're worth.
Yeah. It's I read this thing yesterday from Daniel, who's in the SOS Base Shop. He wrote,
I know Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's cool. He wrote, who in your life is suffering because you refuse to grow?
Wow.
So as single men right now, it's our families, mom, dad, things like that. But as you age and we get families, man, it's bigger than you.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So, okay. So you're at a bank and you're working at a bank.
Yeah.
Your relationship with money, you're like, I'm going straight to the bank.
Yep. What other place if you want to make money, right? But I was completely wrong. Right. So I get my foot in the door as a teller, and I get started February of 2021. And at first it was pretty chill, like super simple, easy job. It was funny, like dealing with some customers, but also it was a learning experience, like being able to learn how to spot fraudulent checks, having that customer service experience, dealing with people. Those are skill sets that are important. And before I even get into the whole bank story, it's like one of the things that I learned from Rich Dad Poor Dad that I really implemented was wealthy people, they don't work for money. They work to learn skill sets, and they work to learn and increase their value in the marketplace. And when I understood, and it was hard to understand at first. And in the book, Robert Kiyosaki, I forgot specifically, but someone was doing a job and he's like, hey, if I give you money, I already like brainwashed you and programmed you that every time you trade your time, you receive $1. Worst thing you could do to a kid if you want to like become wealthy. You do not want to show them that, hey, you get paid based off of time spent. You want to show them that you get paid based off of the value that you give to people. And that right there, reading that, again, early on, hard to understand, right? But as you start living and you go through life, you're like, boom, that makes more sense. I didn't make $5,000 on this policy because of, the time I spent with it. Was no, I gave this client value and boom, that's how I made the money, right? So that is like something that I learned very on, and that's what led me into construction. And then after graduating high school, led me to the bank because I wanted to learn. So whenever I worked at a job, and I've only had 2 jobs, I never was there with the intent that I'm going to be there long term. I said, hey, what do I need to learn? What do I need to do in order to get to the next level and graduate? And, I only lasted like 6-7 months at the bank. And from there, I was just very frustrated because I knew in my soul, I'm not meant to be an employee. I'm not. I'm meant for more than employment. And from there, I was like, man, what can I get into? I already tried all these side hustles. What can I get into that's going to allow me to grow? I'm going to have fun. I'm going to make good money. And that's when the financial services industry popped up. Got started in the insurance industry. And I instantly got started because I knew about Pat. And from there, that alone, I was like, boom, Pat owns this company. Boom, I want to get started. Mm-hmm. And just seeing how, there's a lot of people making a lot of money, having the impact, being able to still help other people set themselves up for generational wealth, that financial literacy aspect as well. That's what got me into the industry. And I was 18.
So 18, you're at a bank.
Yep.
You get recruited into the financial service industry. Mm-hmm. And this you have some sort of knowledge when in regards to finances,
correct.
Stocks.
At this point, yeah, I do.
You have an understanding. What did you learn that you were like shocked? You're like, I've been studying this.
Yeah.
I did not know this was like a real thing. Because you've been studying money, you get into the industry.
Yep.
I don't know about this part.
Yeah, insurance. That's what it was for me. Because I knew about stocks, right? You can buy and trade stocks. You can do options. You can get into real estate. You can wholesale. You can contract. You can flip houses. You can have rental properties. I knew all that. I didn't know about the insurance side. And I'm like, why isn't this talked about enough? I didn't even learn about that at the bank. I'm like, they don't even teach me this at the bank where I was handling people's money.
What is this? Are you going to get into it?
What is what?
The biggest shock that you learned.
Oh, the insurance part,
okay.
Right? That you can build tax-free wealth leveraging life insurance.
Okay.
Right. So it's that part that I did not know anything about, and I wish I knew about it. I mean, I learned about it at the earliest age possible, which is 18. Like, you can't get into the industry any younger than that. So I'm blessed for that. But just reading more about, like, the Rockefellers. There's this book called What Would the Rockefellers Do? I read that book as well. And it talked about how they leveraged life insurance to, have their own family bank and sustain their wealth from generation to generation. So that's what really intrigued me. And I was like, man, if I don't know about this and I worked at a bank, most people don't know about this and they don't teach it in school. So I found that there was a great opportunity ahead of me for me to take advantage of, for me to, really build and do something big.
When you reached out to your family members when you started doing this, did anyone know? Did anyone in your network know?
Oh, heck no.
So no one knew about this
No
information.
one knew. Okay. And that's the crazy part about it too, because you know this. I mean, when we get someone started in our company, everything is about people knowing what it is that you do. And it's crazy that sometimes when we get started in a new business, a new industry, we're so scared to talk to people about what we do. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't be scared. You got to embrace it. For all you know, someone can be praying for the product, for the opportunity that you have, and because your mouth is shut, they can't get their blessing.
Yeah, you just blocked a blessing. It's not.
Bro,
It's not up to you.
It's not about you. It's so much bigger than you. With anything it is that you get into, it could be freaking real estate. It doesn't have to be insurance.
No.
Right? I know about an agent that got started in real estate, and they were just scared to talk to people. They were we call them secret agents.
Yeah.
Right?
Secret agents. Yeah.
So, and come to find out, they have people in their circle buying houses from some random agent online.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had that experience with insurance as well, where
Yeah.
I mean, we see it all the time. So you get recruited into the financial service industry. Are you still doing stocks? Are you still doing YouTube? Are you like you're at the bank? What happened to
Yeah.
all the other stuff?
Yeah. So I get recruited into the insurance industry August 30th, 2021.
Okay.
I have my orientation August 31st. And after that, I disappear. Crazy. And this goes back to outwitting the devil, the garden, spiritual warfare. And again, looking back, whenever, and I always say this to anyone that is in my circle that I'm mentoring or pouring into, I say whenever you're on the verge of doing something great, that's when the enemy is going to attack the most. Right after I get started in the industry, that's when I was going through spiritual warfare, or in my head having these negative thoughts. So I kind of disappear. I am still working at the bank, but again, remember, at the bank, I'm miserable. And I said, you know what, Joe? Like, if you don't give this a shot, you're not going to know what your life looks like on the other side of this. I put in my 2 weeks. My last day at the bank was September 22nd, 2021. I'll always remember that day. That's the last day I was an employee. And I give insurance a shot. I get my license in October, and then we start rocking and rolling from there.
Okay, so your orientation first day is August 31st. From September 1st to September 22nd, you disappear.
Correct.
Well,
I didn't show up to any like trainings. I was just that person that just got started and then was just like,
Okay.
It was weird, very weird. And it's like, it's so like counterintuitive. It's like, yeah, I want to make a lot of money. Yeah, I want to get into this. Yeah, I'm going to win for my family. I'm going to, do big things. And then boom, gone.
Yeah.
That happens to a lot of people. And again, it goes back to the enemy. When you're on the verge of doing something good, be prepared to go through some shit.
Yeah.
Because like, if you're not going through shit, you're probably not doing anything big.
Worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No pain, no gain. So anything worth it is gonna come with blood, sweat,
for
tears.
sure.
It's God's gonna put you through the rough parts to get to the glory.
Yeah.
So what is it like when in this period? Are you like depressed, or is it you just brushed it off?
It was just a lot of doubt.
Okay.
I don't know if I made the right decision. Maybe I should stick to this. Right. Are
you considering working at the bank?
No.
Okay, you're just like, I don't know if this is my platform.
Yeah, the bank I knew I did not want to be in for like in this spot, because I'm only making $1,400 a month at the bank. I was working part-time there, about 25 hours a week. Yeah, 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. I had Tuesdays and Sundays off. And I'm making $1,400 a month, $700 every other week. So I knew for me, if I wanted to, again, get to that six-figure mark, which was highly edified, I knew that the bank was not going to get me there, because no one in my circle, no one at the bank made six figures around me. And if I wanted to get to six figures, it was probably going to take me, 15, 20 years maybe? Like, who knows how long? I can't wait that long to make that type of money. I'm going to have kids and I'm going to be settled down by then. So for me, everything, again, it's, are you staying curious? Are you staying open-minded to at least doing new things? And it's crazy to say that I didn't go to college route. I didn't stick with the bank. And within 2 years, I made six figures. The people I graduated high school with are still in college.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
come on.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, but were you looking at other ventures? Like, what's
During that time?
that time period? Because that's an interesting time period to me.
For me, was I still doing stocks at that time?
Like, yeah, what other
things
are you doing?
I was still doing stocks at that time.
And then did you get frustrated
with stocks?
with everything because you had to go back, because you made a decision to go back and you stuck with it?
Correct. Yeah.
What pushed that?
The frustration was the bank.
Okay.
And it's just knowing that if I don't change, nothing is going to change.
Okay.
It was that realization. It was that wake up moment where you're like, again, it's always turning points where you could either decide to open that door and move forward, or that door stays shut and you don't even know what's on the other side of it.
Oh, that's deep though, but that hurts more.
It does.
In those moments where you decide not to do anything
Mm-hmm.
and you just sit in your regret,
Yep.
that's not good.
And that's what I share to a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, because it's like, hey, do you really want to be 60 years old, right? You're retired, you have your little 401k, you probably don't have Social Security because there's nothing there, right? And you're looking back, you see your kids, you have your grandkids, and you're like, man, just what if 40 years ago when I was 20 years old, I did something different? Your life is completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. I don't want to have that regret.
It's a good balance of long-term and short-term thinking.
Oh, for sure.
That's amazing. Okay. So you get started September 22nd, or you come back.
Yeah, September 22nd was my last day at the bank.
Oh, at the bank. Okay, then what happens next?
Then from there, I'm like, okay, what do I got to do to actually get this business off the ground? They said, hey, you got to, go through training and you got to get your license.
Okay.
I, just like anyone, I hate taking tests. And I could forever say that life insurance license was the last test I'll ever take on my life, right? So I take the test, all multiple choice. It was actually not that bad at all. And, I scheduled the test date. I procrastinated. I only studied the last few days, passed with like an 81.
Took it one time?
Took it one time, passed my first try. Was very excited. Because, like, for me, that life insurance license was like my 4 to 6 years of schooling degree, if you want to call it, right? Yeah. But it only took me like a week to get. So,
And it got you $100,000.
Exactly.
So far.
Yeah. I get the license. Then from there, everything is about environments. Crazy story, Ara. So October, I come back to the business. I get my license. Literally the next month, our team had a trip in California. And keep in mind, I'm 18 years old. I've flown a couple of times. I'm not scared of flights, but I've never flown by myself, especially, and I've never been to California. And I just quit my job. Like, who gets started in a business where there's no guaranteed income? You got to, like, you're building a business from the ground up, right? I quit my job, and then it's, hey, we're having this event in California. There's going to be a multimillionaires there. You're going to learn, pick their brain, 3-day event in Cali. You're going to be there, right? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Right? But again, who's holding you accountable? Who's in your corner? I get challenged, and this was one of the first lessons I learned being in our industry from Tony Robbins. He says, it's not about a lack of resources. It's always about a lack of resourcefulness. I didn't have a job. I didn't have money coming in, but I still found a way to get to California to be there at that event because it was going to cost me more not to be there than for me to be there.
100%.
Right.
People don't realize the cost of not doing something.
Exactly.
The cost of not going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Now your energy's off. You might not make the right choices throughout the rest of the day. Now you're eating bad.
Yep. You hit it right there. So second month in the insurance industry, I go to Cali. Had an awesome event there, meet some phenomenal, inspirational people that inspired me to say, hey, I think I made the right choice, right? And from there, we just started, growing and going from there.
So are you by yourself in Tampa doing this?
No. I'm still living with my dad.
So, okay.
Yeah, I'm living with my dad at the time when I get started in the insurance industry. And then, crazy story, and this is going to take a turn, but 2022, last year I filed taxes for the first time because in 2021 I had a job, and then I got started with the insurance industry. So in that January I filed taxes, and come to find out I owe the IRS taxes. And again, I have no consistent income. I'm still like figuring things out. It was horrible, man. Like, again, you got to be ready to go through some crap if you're wanting to win and really win big. And the crap I've probably been through is not even as big as the stuff I'm going to go through even in the future. If I want to get to, $500,000 of income, $1 million of income, I'm going to go through even some more stuff. So anyways, taxes come, I owe the IRS money. I kind of just like fumble it off. I'm like, we'll get to that when I make some money. Right. And shout out to my dad. He actually takes care of it. And my dad is pissed, by the way, because he was the one that's like, Joe, you need to go get a job, right? But for him to actually like still support me through that time and say, hey, I got this. And, I had to pay him back, obviously. But just having just one or two people in your corner that can be there to help you out when times get tough, that is huge too. Because if you don't have that person, I mean, that alone can kick someone out the business. Let's say I stop working in the business, I go get a job, I don't see the 6 figures the next year. So, you know, just having those people that can really help you and support you through low times is huge as well.
So many things have to go right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just not a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's just not a coincidence. So you get started. Were you immediately successful? Like
No.
because you make 6 figures now.
Now,
it's been
but
2 years.
Yeah.
But what was that adversity that you're talking about like?
Yeah, a lot of it is mindset and just growing out of your old identity. Like, you got to always recreate yourself. The way I think now and the way I operate now isn't going to get me to $250,000 or $500,000. I got to level up. I got to grow my identity. So for me, even though I read, you know, The Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was entrepreneurial and stuff, I saw myself still having employee tendencies. Because a lot of us, we say we want to be our own boss, but we're the worst person to work for.
Absolutely.
Like, it's horrible. You know, why do you show up on time for someone else, but you don't show up on time for yourself?
Wow.
You know, so learning that, like the difference between being an employee and a self-employee. Because at the time I'm a self-employee. There's a difference. And even reading, you know, Cash Flow Quadrant, that helped a ton. So just getting started, there was not a lot of success in the beginning. You know, I made $500 my first month off the first policy, made my insurance money back from, you know, the tests and everything it takes to.
You recouped your investment.
Yeah. And from there, I knew I was good, right? On my first policy, I made my money back that it cost for me to get the license.
Yeah.
Cool. Made it, you know, a couple $100 as well later on. And then from there, it was more so, you know, figuring out systems, figuring out, just more about the industry as a whole, being able to properly serve your client. Because if you don't, you know, a lot of people are like, man, I want that big client that's going to roll over $1 million. But are you competent enough to actually sit down with that person?
Yeah.
And it's up to you how fast you get competent.
Right.
So for me, it's like, okay, I'm curious. I want to learn more. How does insurance policies work? How can it build cash value? How does this differ from stocks? So from there, it's more so, you know, watching YouTube videos, going to trainings, reading books, and then from there, just beefing up my knowledge, which then gave me the confidence to go win.
What was the turning point to where, you know, you're making a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there?
Yeah.
Then you turn it on, you're like, all right, let's go make 6 figures.
The turning point was last year in August.
Okay.
Last year in August, I'm about to quit the insurance industry.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, you know, this isn't just for me. I'm just going to like leave, try something different. Again, jumping from one thing to the next, not sticking it out through adversity. Because there's always adversity. There was always adversity with everything it was that I did before. And the turning point for me was, and this is why I love PHP the most, is because Pat is that CEO that wants to make sure that everyone is winning. He has an equity program last year, and even this year there's another equity, like you can own equity in the company. So August of last year, 2022, I'm just like, coach, this ain't for me. I'm like barely making money. You know, I'm a year and a half in, or no, at the time a little bit over a year in. Yeah, I'm about a year in at that point. I'm like, haven't really made much money, made a couple $1,000 my first year in the insurance industry. I legit think this isn't for me. I'm just going to go get a job. So again, going back to that, I'm going to go get a job thing. And
my eye just tweaked when you said go get a job.
Oh, bro,
like,
I cringe every time.
Like, yeah.
Now I cringe whenever but that was my language to my coach, David. And he says, bro, are you serious? Like, you're about to, you only have 3 months left in the year, October, November, December. You're going to give up equity in a future multi-billion-dollar company. So I have that conversation with David, and he has this recorded somewhere. He challenges me in a way that I didn't get challenged before, but he said, just give it 3 months. You give it 3 months, you go run to become a broker in our industry. And then after the 3 months, then you can revisit this conversation. But you can't entertain what you're entertaining now for 3 months. I said, fair enough. I go all in. Like, that's when I absolutely made the decision to go in, was because I needed to. Like,
You're like, this
credit-
is it.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
I'm either giving this up.
Ara, like, you don't even know. Negative in my account, credit cards maxed out. Like, I had no job
Yeah.
for a year, right?
And you're living with mom and dad still.
I'm living with my dad.
Dad.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm just doing side jobs here and there throughout Tampa. I was like, because again, I worked in construction, so I had skill sets that could still keep me alive.
Got you.
I make that decision. I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And for 3 months, I worked like I've never worked before. Jumped up out of bed early in the morning, like just excited to go crush it. And
Why were you excited?
because
You made the decision to be excited.
Yeah,
Why?
everything is a decision. And it's crazy because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm not happy. But it's like, you're making that decision not to be.
Yeah.
You control your thoughts, and your thoughts lead to the way you feel, and your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results.
You're 100% responsible for your own life.
Exactly. So when I had that realization that, like, Joe, you can, like, you know, complain, cry, whine, whatever it is that you want to do, which a lot of people do, bro, the world is not going to feel sorry for you. Like,
If you complain, cry, moan, the marketplace is going to value you as someone that whines, complains, and moans.
exactly.
And then your compensation will be dictated off the value you provide.
Exactly. Boom. So understanding that and just having it made up in my mind, like, no, this is going to happen no matter what. Back is against the wall. You know, making that decision. Boom. I run after a broker position in our company, end up wrapping it up. And then what's crazy story, I don't end up like submitting the paperwork to become a broker.
Okay.
I start the new year, 2023. And I always say this, in business, your income is always a reflection of what you did 90 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that January, I made like 14 grand
Mm-hmm.
at 19. I'm 19 at the time, right? Earlier this year. And I run for broker again. And what's crazy is I was the second person promoted to broker position this year, and I ended up getting a $15,000 bonus from the company.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was because of a decision to say, hey, I'm not going to go back to my old self, my old identity. That's a decision that my coach made to say, hey, I'm not going to let this kid, you know, just go back to his old self. I got to be there to challenge him. At the end of the day, it's up to what the kid does, if he's going to accept the coaching or just go back to his old self. Most people, they go back to old self, they fold, they crumble, they crumble in adversity, right? And then you see them working their 9 to 5.
One conversation changed your life. And it wasn't even, it might not have been immediate, but this is August, September. No, it's September. September, October, November, December. And then in January, 5 months later, you make 14 plus 15K bonus.
The bonus didn't come there. So, because we run a 90-day
run.
runs.
Got you.
So, January, February, March was my run.
Okay.
Wrapped it up. Then I got the bonus the following month. So,
but still, you're 19, 20 at this time?
19. I turned 20 in June.
Making 14K 1 month. And
yeah.
Then
it was 10K, a 20K month as well,
wow.
The 15,000 bonus. So, different things like that. I'm like, wow, like, we're being tested sometimes, and you got to ask yourself through that test, God, what is it that you want me to learn? What is it that I don't know that you like need me to learn so that I can get to the next level, so I can graduate this area of life that I'm in? And unfortunately, most people don't pass the test. They don't want to graduate, or it's not that they don't want to graduate. It's just they don't want to embrace the suck, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people, this is one of I heard a comedian say this.
Yeah.
He says, I'll get on stage and I'll eat shit, but I like eating shit. So I might have been a comedian or Russ.
Yeah.
You know Russ the rapper?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I don't care if I suck. I'm going to get on this mic and I will eat shit. I will eat shit every day for a year.
Wow.
I will eat shit and he's like, I like eating shit. And it sounded so funny to me. But it's like, that's the same thing. It's like, with what we do, we got to go talk to people about who we are, what we do, market our brand, even with this podcast.
Yeah.
I love eating shit. I don't care. This is what I'm going to do.
For sure.
I will stand and die by it. So you start making money. You're young. You finally get money. What's it like? Are you like, how is it hard? Like, bro, the difficulties of finally getting money And it's not a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's not life changing, but it's
for
a lot
sure.
of money.
But it's for that age.
It's a lot of
correct.
money.
Oh yeah, and
What's
it's-
going through your mind? You're like, I'm killing it. I did it. Like, what's going on?
All right, like you asked such a great question there, because you'll interview people in their 40s, 50s that are multimillionaires, and they'll tell you, "Oh, I made money when I was young and I blew it all."
Yeah.
Right? So I'm 19, and it's good that I'm learning these lessons now, because now I don't have to waste my 20s of blowing my money.
Yeah.
So when it comes to first having that, it's like, wow, you don't. What's a budget? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
how do I budget? How do I
What are
track?
taxes? Yeah.
What are taxes? I don't know any of that stuff. No one taught me that. So it's literally, that's where it goes back to, do you want to be smart or do you want to be wise? I had to be, I wanted to be wise, but unfortunately I went the smart route. I'm learning through my now 100K year this year. It's like, okay, Joe, you effed that up. You got to like put systems in place. Okay, every time you make money, X goes here for taxes, X goes here, right? Tithing, that was something that was huge. When I was on my broker run for me to become a broker in this industry, I started tithing, right? 10%. And then, we started upping that a little bit. So for me, it's, okay, what are your systems in place for you to avoid being not dumb, but just making those stupid mistakes you shouldn't be making?
Yeah.
So, again, it goes back to who's in your corner. Because if you're around, and I'm not, but if I'm around 19, 20, 21-year-olds that like are college people,
Like to party.
want to party, yo, let's go to the club, let's blow some money, let's get drinks. Like, if I'm around that, my money's gone, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm around people like, multimillionaires that are in our office, hey, make sure you're doing this. Hey, make sure you're setting aside stuff for taxes. So I had to learn through that this year, finally, like, making that type of money. It's not a lot, but me knowing now that I want to scale to $250,000, $500,000, I need to have those right systems in place so that I know where my money is going, how to invest it properly, how do I keep, because it's not about what you make. It's at the end of the day, how much you keep. And that's what I learned.
What was the first thing you bought? What did you buy?
The first thing for me was actually invested it back into my business.
Okay.
So, and I'll share this story. Wait, no. So this was what, we're in 2023. I almost lost track of what year we're in.
I know, right?
For a second. Yeah. That's crazy. We're almost done with the year. But first thing I bought, I invested back into my business. And that's something that's very talked about in our business, is like, hey, you got to invest back into your business. So we recently had a company event in August. We're in Las Vegas. And who do we had at that event?
Khabib, Charlie Kirk, Will Guidara.
Will Guidara, that's right. Awesome. He ran the #1 restaurant in the entire industry.
Wrote the book, Unreasonable
Hospitality, yeah.
He has the #1 restaurant in all the world in New York City. It's the only 7-star Michelin.
Yeah, exactly.
Our team actually went to dinner there, and it was all vegetarian.
They turned it to,
because
he's no longer there. His partner screwed everything up.
Oh, really? So that's not
his partner
anymore.
Screwed everything up.
Wow.
Changed everything about the business. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, yeah. Some of our some of the millionaires in our office went there for a dinner, and I mean, I saw the videos. They're like, "Where's the meat?
Donde está meat?"
Yeah. They just had eggplant.
Literally.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was invest back into business. I bought $10,000 worth of tickets for our next event.
I love it.
And that's a scary thing to do,
yeah,
bro.
Absolutely.
You're telling that's a scary thing to do. It's not like, I'm 20 and
It's conviction. You're saying, I'm going to go do this. I'm betting on Joe.
I'm betting
10,000
on myself. Correct. And it's crazy, Ara, because a lot of people, they'll bet on the lottery. They'll bet on their schooling, education. They'll bet on sports.
Men will bet on other men before they bet on themselves.
Boom. There you go. Are you betting on yourself? That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing you got to ask yourself is, are you betting on yourself? And it's not easy. Again, I had a conversation with my mentor during this time of me processing, should I go spend 10 grand on our future event where I don't even have the team size that I want to have? And it goes back into, that's the one thing I love about entrepreneurship, is that it tests your faith. And I make that was the first thing or one of the first things that I've done, investing back into my business. So doing that, but then most importantly, it's rewarding yourself. Like business it's not all rainbows and sunshine all the time. Sometimes it's dark. Sometimes it sucks. You got to reward yourself. Like you have to. And at the start of the year, when I was only at like, before I even had the 14 full $1,000 month, I think I was at like what, $8,000 of income. I wrote out my goals for 2023, and one of the first things on there was I'm gonna make $100,000, and when I do, I'm gonna buy a Rolex watch. So I literally had that mapped out since the start of the year. So as soon as that happened, I bought a Rolex as well, and that was my reward to myself. So it wasn't that, for me, it's like, okay, you know, one, you want to make sure that you're always investing back to yourself. I think that's a principle that it talks about in Rich Dad Poor Dad as well. But then also make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Man, okay, so you've made it in regards to 6 figures. You got your Rolex. What is your goals, and what's your goals for 2024?
I love this because I'm in the part where I'm like doing my,
Your business plan.
business planning.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pat, choose your enemies wisely, right? For me, I always had a habit of limiting myself.
Okay.
Like, oh, I think I could do this, but in reality, I know I'm capable to do this.
Absolutely.
And it's that gap of like, man, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So for me, heading into next year, for me, I want to develop better leadership skills. Because it's one thing if you know how to make 100,000, but who are you teaching to make that, right? How many people are you helping? So that's one thing for me is like, okay, I want to be able to help other people make that type of money. But one thing specifically that I have mapped out for 2024 is, I'm going to run $1 million business.
Okay.
Doesn't mean $1 million cash flow. I want to clarify that. But, $1 million
In sales.
In sales, correct. I don't know someone in our industry. I know no one in our company has done it at 21. Mm-hmm. I'd be 21 by the end of the year, next year. But that's a huge goal. Why that goal is because that's known as the championship of our industry. There's very few people in the insurance industry that run a 1 million point base shop is what it's called. So being able to do that at 21, that's a huge deal. But how I do it matters to me. I don't want to run $1 million business solely off of me. I want to be able to help other people run most of that, right? So that means other people are making money. Mm-hmm. And that's one goal that I have mapped out for 2024. Cash flow wise, $500,000, being able to make that at 21, that's something that, I'm going to do. And for me, it's the year of explosion. Mm-hmm. It's the year of stepping into faith. It's the year of, letting God be in control. Because I could say, I want to run $1 million business next year. And for all I know, God could be like, Joe, you're thinking too small.
Right. Absolutely.
Which is crazy. Right. But at the end of the day, I'm only the person that could stop me. Right. And I don't want to limit myself. I don't want to, stop me from doing that.
What has your relationship with God, how has it evolved because of the mentorship from the Seekas and what you've seen them go through?
Man, that is huge.
Because the Seekas are your mentors.
Correct.
Yeah.
I grew up Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay.
So the Sabbath, Friday night, sundown till Saturday sundown, you don't do work, you don't play games, you don't watch TV, all of that. That's what I grew up with. But it felt very restricting. It felt very, man, I'm afraid that if I do this, God is going to punish me. It was out of fear, right? So for me, I didn't like that too much. But after COVID in 2020, when I'm still out in Florida, I stopped going to church. Didn't go to church, and then get started in PHP. I started attending some of the Bible studies that our team does. So from there, I'm slowly starting to build that relationship with God. For me, it's about the relationship, not about a religion. And the first moment in business where God came through for me, and it was very evident, because sometimes you're like, man, like, God, I want an answer, but you don't know if it's him or not. Mm-hmm. This was like clear as day. Clear as day. It's 2022 February. Okay. I go to my first big event with PHP.
Okay.
And it's in Daytona, Florida. Deion Sanders is there.
Oh, I wish I was there.
Phenomenal event.
Wish I was there.
Phenomenal event. Deion Sanders was there, and 2022 February, I got started a couple of months before into the industry. I'm still broke, no job, whatever the case may be. And I kid you not, going back into investing in your business, we are towards the end of the event, and it's crazy. We get to a spot where they announce the next event, and that event was going to be in Vegas. Shaquille O'Neal was going to be there, Nelly, Layla Ali, all these phenomenal speakers, and I'm like pumped up. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to go to Vegas. And my coach, again, everything goes back to mentor. Who are you being mentored by? My coach challenges me to buy 4 tickets for the next event. Keep in mind, at this event, I only have me, my brother, and Jonathan, my childhood friend in Florida, that I bring to this Daytona event. So the tickets altogether cost like $1,000. I don't have $1,000. I maybe have like $300. And somehow, some way, I found a way to come up with $1,000 that day to buy these tickets. Jonathan came together with me, my brother, and like I asked for money from someone, and I got the $1,000. I bought the 4 tickets. But here's the thing. Guess what was due in like 10 days? My car payment.
Oh, wow.
I had a car payment of $250. So I spent $1,000 10 days prior to my car payment. My credit card's maxed out. And I spent $1,000 on my business. Again, who are you prioritizing? Debtors or your business or yourself?
100%.
Right?
Wow.
And again, going back to that faith, leaning on God. God, you're in control. God, I don't know how this situation is going to play out, but I'm just going to trust in you. I spend the $1,000 for the tickets for the next event. I kid you not, Ara. I have $20 in my account, and I'll send you the picture. Like you could post this on the screen so they know I'm not BSing.
Okay.
I have $20 in my account, and I get home from that event. I lived in Tampa, so we drove to Daytona. It's like a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive. The day I get back, I open up the mail. It says like urgent, open immediately on it. I open up the mail, and there's a check in there for $287.
Whoa.
Yes, bro. Like I'm getting emotional now just thinking about it because, and it's not a check. I'm sorry. It was a 401k statement from when I worked at the bank.
The bank. Oh.
Bro, I was like, no
Yo.
freaking way, bro. So I get home and I'm like, I don't have $250 to make my car payment. I can't buy these tickets.
Yeah.
It's, hey, God's in control. Stepping
Don't worry
into faith.
about it.
Don't worry about it. I get home and I see that. I believe it's $287. I'll double check, but $287, I liquidate my 401k. Boom, I take care of my car payment that February. So that was my first experience in business of knowing that God is in control. He has my back. I have God's favor. And just time and time after again, my relationship has evolved with God. And now even finding a phenomenal church out here in Dallas, and it's in Frisco, Texas, that I go to every Sunday now. But again, it's the relationship, not so much about the religion. I don't like to get caught up in that. But yeah, man, that was like my first experience knowing that God is on my side.
Man, that's crazy. Okay. I think we can end on that unless you have anything else for me, man. I don't want to.
Bro, I could.
I could talk all day. I'm telling you, I could talk all day.
Oh, for sure.
But we're gonna come back on for
we'll
more.
do a part 2.
No,
for
100%.
Sure.
We're gonna definitely.
Yeah, this was a phenomenal episode. I don't even know. Like, what time is it?
I think it's. I just looked 4:18.
What time did we get here?
Like maybe 3. So we're in 1:24.
Awesome.
So
awesome. Yeah.
Any closing thoughts? Promote your brand. What you do?
Just Joe Vester on Instagram. JoeVestor. That's where I'm mainly at. You can follow me there. But book recommendations. Honestly, the books that I would say that helped me a lot. Again, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that got my foot off the ground. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
That taught me how to connect with individuals and just be invested in people. And then if you're in a spot where you're like, hey, I want to grow my relationship with God, I don't know where to start, read the book, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. It's a 42-day journal or journey on you growing your relationship with God. I'll wrap up with this last story.
Please.
This is crazy as well. I have so many stories. It's crazy. And I'm only 20. Like, I can't wait to the stories I have when I'm like 25, 30. I pick up the book Purpose Driven Life when I'm going through a low. I felt very like lonely. I felt very like just lack of ambition, not wanting to work. It was very weird. I'm like, why am I feeling like this? And I was just like craving something. And that's when I'd like decide to lean on God. Pick up the book Purpose Driven Life. And again, it's a 42-day journey. So I started off, day one. And I just read one day every day. And on the 42nd day, Ara, was when I crossed $100,000 of income. Yeah.
Wow.
On the 42nd day, which is the last day of the book, I journeyed the entire thing. It's crazy how God works.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's just saying, hey, like, I know you're chasing money. I know you're chasing success. And success looks different for every person. But, like, again, don't have idols or gods before me, right? I'm in control. So just now knowing that, okay, God is in control. And, again, now I have systems in place to where I'm not prioritizing other things before God. And just seeing that on the 42nd day, wrapping up 100,000, like, bro, I was emotional. I was like crying.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how God works.
Show off the ring one time.
Oh, yeah.
The 100K ring.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate you, Ara.
Absolutely.
Thank you, boss.
We got more of these for sure.